Killer's Kiss is the second feature-length film from Stanley Kubrick, who also wrote, produced and shot and edited this, as it happens, a jack of all trades. Harold Sackler also had a hand in the script, although he isn't credited on the final film. Follows this character of Davey, who's basically a washed-up boxer who's heading back home. He stood at the train station and we get his voiceover, his inner monologue, that thing again. He talks about what has led him to being in this position, to going back home. We get his story basically. It's a bit of a holdover from Fear and Desire. You know, I think one of my big bugbears with that film was the voiceover. It really did sound a little bit pretentious. I think the dialogue here is much better than that film, but there are still instances where it could have done with a few more touch-ups, it must be said. But anyway, this character, this boxer, he basically gets in with this girl who he lives across. She lives in the apartment just across from him, has a bit of a rear window vibe when he's looking over at her. And just by being seen with her boss, who's kind of got like a thing for her, gets a bit jealous. From there it turns into this kind of noir thriller in which everybody is out to do everyone else some mischief. But yeah, is it any good? Well, I can say this much: it is vast improvement on Fear and Desire. This is far and away a better film than Kubrick's debut. It does plod a bit at times, and it feels like he didn't quite have enough material here to make a feature film, which is evident from the running time, given that it's just over an hour, as with Fear and Desire. But once it gets going, I think that it allows Kubrick to show us some of that potential that he would go on to fulfill, even with his next film after this. And still a few things that bring it down. The acting isn't particularly great. We get Frank Silvera back from Fear and Desire, someone that I didn't particularly rate in that film. He's better here, it must be said, he is, but still not, he don't blow me away, you know. He fits the role well enough, but I'm sure they could have found many other actors to do it better. However, Kubrick is on a budget he scraped together from family and friends, as with the first film. Kubrick has come on in leaps and bounds with the way he shoots and edits though. Yeah, he shot and edited both these first two movies, and here you can see that he's learned from his mistakes. Eye lines are correct, you know, the way he frames the action, the way it leads into each other, the way it's edited together, it's so much crisper, so much leaner. It really is a vast improvement. I will say again, it's the writing that lets it down. There are moments in here, these character developments and stories that come out where they don't really have much impact on the rest of the film. Like, we've got this main character, one of the main characters, this woman, the one that Davey is kind of obsessed over or trying to help out. And she tells this backstory, her backstory, about her sister. And it feels like it's going somewhere. It feels like, you know, that's going to feed into the rest of the film in some big way. And it doesn't. It's just, and that wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't such a huge scene. And we don't see any of the stuff she's talking about. We just get this voiceover while we see an image of her sister, played by Kubrick's wife of the time, doing this ballet. And it goes on for seemingly like 5 minutes. We're watching this woman just perform this ballet dance while we have this voiceover. And about halfway through it, I just begin to check out. And I kind of had to bring myself back to listen to what she was saying, because I felt like this is important. This is going to be important to the overall film. And while the story itself is you know, it's a nice bit of character building, I guess, backstory, it doesn't really feed into the rest of the film in any great detail. Irene Kane, who plays this woman as well, she isn't a great actress, it must be said. Not on the strength of this anyway. I don't know if she did anything else. I know she came from a background of journalism, but here I just feel like she makes all the wrong choices. You know, there's this moment when she's going up against Frank Silvera's character in her apartment, and he's coming on strong against her, and then he eventually attacks her, and it just feels like she plays the whole thing wrong. There's no dread there. She doesn't feel any kind of urgency, a sense of urgency to get him out. She doesn't feel like she genuinely wants him out. She's got a big smile on her face the whole time. It's almost like Kubrick could have just done with saying, you know what, maybe check your emotional state or your character's emotional state in this scene, because I don't think you've nailed it. But I feel like she's like that throughout, to be honest. Maybe the biggest weakness of this film from an acting and character standpoint. Visually, this film is very striking. It's a beautiful film to look at. Like I say, Fear and Desire also was quite beautiful, but the editing wasn't particularly well done. You know, the way sequences were shot, it didn't allow them to kind of fit together very well. Here it's much better. So you've got that beautiful photography that Kubrick does, but it's meshed together with good editing, and I feel like a lot of the action sequences in this film as well really take it up a notch. Like I say, once we get through the first third of the film and things start to kick into gear, and then certainly towards the last half of the film when it becomes this chase movie, the action is very well shot, and there's even a few stunts in there that I feel like weren't intended. Like there's a moment when Frank Silvera's character is chasing this main character across this rooftop, and he falls over, and I had to wind it back just to check, because it looked pretty nasty. It looked like a nasty fall, and I'm positive that wasn't intended. When you look at it, it looks like the actor just fell over, hurt himself, got up, carried on, and they left it in the film. Either way, it was quite amusing, but also it added to the reality of things. You know, a lot of this film also feels, in many respects, like a documentary in the way it's shot. You can tell that Kubrick has a background in documentary. You know, he made a few documentary films before he went into dramatic features, and I do think that shows here. Particularly in the scenes with the boxing matches. A really incredible boxing match. Considering this was made in the early 50s, there's a boxing match here that, for me personally, kind of outranks anything that was done in the original Rocky film. You know, like, as much as I love that original Rocky film, you never really felt like they were properly fighting. It was always over the top, and you could see that the punches weren't connecting. Here, they're connecting. They're having a proper boxing match, and Kubrick gets the camera into all manner of places, you know, from different perspectives. So it really helps build a very exciting sequence, boxing sequence. And the same can be said for later on in the film when the two main characters are kind of kidnapped by this group, and there's a bit of a fight that ensues, which, as with Fear and Desire, there was moments of violence in that hit quite hard. Here, that fight sequence hits hard. It looks quite brutal, quite intense. You know, when I think of films from the 50s and that period, I don't really think of them as having this level of violence with regards to the realism of it. So yeah, it is a good film. Like I say, it's still not the greatness that we know Kubrick would go on to be, but based on the strength of this, you know, if I was watching this like way back when I saw this, I think I would think this guy is one to watch. If he can improve on his next film the way he has here over his first one, then we've got some great talent on our hands. Obviously that would be proven to be the case, and I think it shows here. If you're a Kubrick fan and you've not seen this, I highly recommend it. Like I say, not a perfect film, but still a pretty good watch. I give it a 3 out of 5. If you have seen Killer's Kiss, please do comment below and let me know what you thought about it. While you're at it, check out the social media links that I have just here, and just, yeah, hit me up, follow me, and come and say hello. But yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time, crack it.